Hello, everybody. I'm new to all this, but just starting out today. And I hope to get more lighting and more professional. Some of you may not like my number 12 in the background, 12 man Seattle Seahawks, but I hopefully get some introduction music on as well. But I just want to talk to you a little bit about the clinical training that I've received from ACPE and CPSP. This is just not to criticize anybody or any program, but to describe what I feel about ACPE and CPSP. We know that there is, for any of you who are watching this are probably interested. So throughout the years, this has been a controversy about the different trainings of ACPE and CPSP. And I've heard many disparaging remarks about CPSP, that it's a lower standard and so on and so forth. So I'd just like to share my experience with both trainings. Now, I've taken, I have 4 units of CPE, board certified with APC, and I'm board certified with CPSP as well. The training is the same, but also different. The philosophies are different. I did say 3 units of ACPE and 1 unit of CPSP. How could I describe ACPE? Just like in everything else, or in CPE, the biggest thing that you get from both trainings is you get to learn about yourself. What makes you tick? Why do you operate the way you do? And you get to learn a little bit about your personal history. And basically what we always hear, the ministry of presence. And what I call, with the training that I got with ACPE is, I would describe it as neutralizing your religiosity to the point that you're not there to convert, proselytize. And so you learn to, so that's kind of neutralized to where you're not converting people, and you're really trying to listen to the person and be in a ministry of presence. And, and it seems like that's as far as I went. And I always left the room saying, I wish I could do more. There's more to be done. And that's when I took my last unit of CPE with CPSP, and CPSP for me took me to the next level. It actually gave me something to do. It gave me a focus. You went beyond just a ministry of presence, of just being a passive listener, but of just be a sounding board for people. But with CPSP training, you learn more about the behavioral sciences. And that's one of the criticisms that I had with CPE training. You have these competencies, even in ACPE, they have this competency of knowing the behavioral sciences, yet in none of my 3 units of CPE was I taught about what behavioral sciences were in the first place. And I think far as I got was learning about family systems, and that's about it. But just like I interviewed a person for a job the other day, and I said, have you ever understand, in your training, do you even learn about the theories of human development, how people's personality is developed? Do you know anything about defense mechanisms? Because patients are throwing up these defense mechanisms left and right. And what are you going to do with that? Or how do you know what to do when when that's going on. And so, and that's where I feel that CPSP goes a little bit further than ACPE. Um, and so that's the route, or that's who I have married myself to, even though I'm board certified in both organizations. CPSP is a much more richer, much more gratifying um, organization to be with. I've had several people um, who have taken ACPE, whether it's 2 units or 1 unit, um, or 3 units, and just said, hey, let me try to give CPSP a try. As soon as you go CPSP, I've never heard anyone going back and saying, I want to be a part of the other organization. But they do, like me, because of all the politics, you have to keep your APCE board certification and pay your money just for the politics. Um, if you want to a job, so you better get an APC board certification. I hope someday this is eradicated to the point that where all CPE training is accepted by all the institutions, but I probably not, because if there's any ACPE training centers, I'm sure those hospitals will not take CPSP trained people, even though that's a discrimination for employment purposes. That's another story. But yeah, going back, people, when they touch CPSP, they don't want to go back to the other way. Again, for people who don't know, the governance of CPSP is held, and the authority is held at a chapter level, and we are recertified each year. And that's not a board recertification. It's just again, writing a one-page reflection about your growth areas, your growth edges, what you're working on, professionally, personally, and so on. And so it just it's constantly keeping us engaged with each other. You're constantly having the collegial support with not just yearly, but chapter meetings. We have chapter meetings every once a quarter, where we we're there for consultation to each other. We're bringing case studies to one another and helping each other navigate even through our personal and professional issues and where we are. And so, again, I'm not saying that ACPE produces inferior chaplains. I just say that CPSP goes just a little bit further than the CPE training. And so, as you will hear from me later when I talk about my new model of chaplaincy for the future, it takes more of a competent chaplain to execute this model of chaplaincy. Again, if you heard the introduction, it's a chaplaincy that is modeled after basically every other discipline in the institution. They're providing high quality care to help the patient get out of the hospital. For those of you who work in the healthcare industry, the cost of healthcare and the length of stay issues, where Medicare and for us Medi-Cal is only paying patients bills according to their diagnosis, and that according to their diagnosis says, okay, this is what you have. You have a knee replacement. Well, we're only going to pay for 2 hospital stays. So everyone is providing high quality care to help get patients out of the hospital. And my new model of chaplaincy is doing the same thing. How can chaplaincy, as I asked or shared with my supervisor, I said, we must now start asking the question, how can we use chaplaincy or spiritual care? How can we leverage them to help to provide the high quality care to help patients get out of the hospital? So just like respiratory therapists providing high quality care to get their breathing up so they can get discharged, or physical therapist providing high quality care and physical therapy to get them on their feet, to get them out of the hospital. So same thing with chaplaincy and spiritual care. What is it that's blocking them from their plan of care? Let's find what those underlying issues on and get them out of the hospital if it's blocking them in their plan of care. So that's just really a brief um, a part of my model of, of the new model of chaplaincy for the future. And so, and again, I think it takes a little bit more training than the normal CPE training gives. And I believe that CPSP provides more competencies in that area to make my model work. And so it's really, CPSP, for those of you who don't know, really models itself after the Anton Boysen school of thought rather than the Cabot. Cabot is more religious than Anton Boysen. I like the quote where Anton Boysen said something. He said something, it doesn't matter how you call it. The work of the minister is like the psychiatrist. We're engaged in psychotherapeutic work. And that's what we have lost in the last 40 years in CPE. We've turned chaplaincy into religious functionaries, finding out what are their coping mechanisms? Do they have a faith community? Can we call someone? And so, what good are you? You are the resource there in the hospital. What good are you? Why are we paying chaplains to find out who else can provide care for them? It doesn't make sense. And so Anton Boysen School of Thought, we are the clinician, we are the resource. We are there to help people in their problems, not finding other resources to help them cope. If we can't help them cope, or if we can't help them get through their issues, why are we getting paid to do that? And so, as we'll talk more about, I like to have a video on spiritual assessments. The spiritual assessments, FICA, faith, hope, and all those spiritual assessments we're outsourcing our job. Is that what we want? We don't want to outsource our job, finding out what those other resources are. Do they have a faith community? Do they have this? No. We can't go that route. If we continue to go that route in this day and age of healthcare, who's trying to be cost effective, you don't have to pay chaplains to make people feel better when at the end of the day, it doesn't help the bottom line. But anyways, I know some of this is maybe a little provocative. Leave your comments below, subscribe. And I know this is just my first little video of discussing things on clinical chaplaincy. I hope to get better lighting and so on. But just like anything else, it has to start somewhere. And I hope to hear from you soon. Thank you, and do the work.